Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Ji ki Jai. Some words they caught my attention in the middle of the Aarti today, which were Tum ho ek agochar. You are the one unseen, ever present. Sabke pranapati. That from which all of this life emerges. Life force, life energy, it emerges from you. So, you are the one unseen, ever present. The life force of all beings, O Lord. Then, from what I remember, these words seem to be a bit different from that. Is Kis Vidhu Milu Dayame. And my understanding of this dialect of Hindi is not so good, but my feeling is that it means that if you are the unseen and yet ever present one, how must I meet you? I can only surrender to you. How to meet the unseen one? That is the beauty of this recognition, isn't it? How to meet the unseen one. That is what it means when we say non-phenomenal recognition. And in the recognition, you will see that there is the self. This self, which is beyond seeing and not seeing, beyond any light and darkness, beyond something and nothing. This nothing is your truest nature. It is where all phenomena sprouts from. So with great devotion, the one who's composed this arti has asked, you are the unseen one, and yet you are the source of all things. What beauty is this? How do I meet you, O Lord? How to meet this self? Everything that we meet in this world can at best point to this. That's why the meeting with the Master is the most beautiful, because there is no greater pointer to this. There is no greater example of this. And yet, the Master is always saying, go, use me to go to the formless reality of yourself. We cannot meet the formless reality in the world of forms. You will not be able to compute your formless reality with the mind also. You will not be able to crack the formula, who am I, as if it is an intellectual puzzle. The clues that are provided are not to solve it like an intellectual riddle, but to aid your own insight. Who am I? So you will not see it in the seemingly outside world. You will not be able to use this mental contraption to find it, you will not be able to imagine awareness. You will not experience it as an emotion or any sort of physical sensation. How to find it then? All these tools are gone, left aside. This goes right to the root of it, isn't it? If you are the unseen one, how do I meet you, O Lord? That is why self recognition is beyond the realm of experience, and yet at one point we can say it is the most unique experience because it is undeniably true, and yet it has no quality, there is no phenomena on which you are reporting. This is the this is the exploration, you see. And we don't need to pick up a sense of aversion to anything phenomenal. All that we are saying is that, yes, this phenomena, all these phenomenal things have got so much attention from us. Can we spare some time to divest attention from this phenomenal play and check if there is anything else there? You see? So when we say niti, 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 not this, not this, not this, not this, it is not because we are trying to push it away or there is an aversion to phenomena. It is only that one aspect has got so much attention from us. How about we check beyond and see if there is something beyond my phenomenal existence? Where will I find this one non phenomenal existence? Don't get confused with the terminology. I know that usually when we use the term existence, we are talking about the sense I am. But I'm talking about now the I, the absolute, which is beyond the sense of existence, and yet, even though it is beyond the sense of existence, the sense of presence, sense of being, it is undeniably true. The undeniable truth of who you are, the unchanging witness. So you see what you're doing, isn't it? You're saying, how do I meet you, O Lord, the unseen one? Then the Lord's response comes. Find this unchanging witness. What is it that is not perceived phenomenally, that remains unchanging? Therefore, it is reality, therefore, it is truth. And that which is Witnessing, the witnessing principle itself is one way to put it. Cannot find it through mental means, cannot find it through any phenomenal process. Therefore, action, all that we could do for it, plays no role here, because all doing is in the play of phenomena. So the term vidhi, kis vidhi milu, which way, what means do I use to find you? When you find that there are no phenomenal means, all action is set aside, not a step you have to take. If not a step I have to take, then it must be here already. If not a step I have to take, then the meeting cannot be a meeting of two. See, if it was a meeting of two, then you have to take a step. If not a step I have to take, then it must be meeting myself, that which is ever present, unseen to sight, unheard to ears. No senses can get here, no imagination can get here, no thought can capture this. Even the sense of my existence, we have gone beyond to that which is. So when the sages said, "Be still and know that you are that," it is the same as this. How to meet that unseen primal witnessing. So for some time, no phenomenal considerations. They have had their time and they will get their time also in the future. Are you aware now? What is aware of even this awareness? Cannot solve this question. Don't try to solve it. Let the question lead you on its own. Who is aware of awareness? Who are you here? What is true about you that has never changed? Can this awareness also come and go? What would witness the coming and going of this? Does this have a beginning or an end or any form of change? Is there anything to desire or anything to push away? What can come in the world of appearances that can touch this one? Okay, let's look at 51. So, when one realizes he is neither the actor nor the one who watches, the mind storm is stilled. He is neither the actor nor the perceiver of these actions. This is pointing to the absolute. Perceiving, acting, all of this is a play of consciousness. What is before I am, before consciousness? Once you come to this recognition, then the mind storm has no power over you. She says that the mind could create a tsunami, but what power does it have over the self? We just saw that no phenomenal appearance touches the self. All phenomena is just an aspect of the self. That's why the sages go as far as to say, if the world would burn, if the universe were to catch fire, I remain untouched. It is not because they have some phenomenal superpower. They are not referring to I, which remains untouched, as the body. The body is part of this world. The I that remains untouched is the same I, which is the source of consciousness, that is aware of consciousness itself. And you come to this discovery, You find that witnessing, that is aware of your perception, that which is aware of sight, of sound. You don't see sight, see the objects, but how are you aware of sight? You don't hear hearing, you hear phenomena. How are you aware of hearing? These are all very beautiful pointers. When one realizes he is neither the actor nor the one who watches, the mind storm is still. Now, don't confuse this nor the one who watches with what the sage has been saying from the beginning. Don't confuse it with the one solitary witness of all there is. That is why it is very important that we have sessions like this. Otherwise, it might sound like it's just a bunch of contradictions, but it is spoken of from a different place. What witnesses your perception? The one who watches is the perceiver. Can the perceiver be perceived? Guruji's Pirana question. Can the perceiver itself be perceived? What is your truest position? Chapter 18, verse 52. The actions of the sage, free of pretense and motive, shine like clear light. Not so those of the deluded seeker who affects a peaceful demeanor while remaining firmly attached. The actions of the sage, free of pretense and motive, shine like clear light. Not so those of a deluded seeker who affects a peaceful demeanor while remaining firmly attached. In the aspect of consciousness, in the aspect of consciousness, which is appearing to you as a sage, there has been a recognition third time's a charm. So, in the aspect of consciousness, which is appearing to you as a sage, there has been the recognition that there is no doer, no individual doer of action. So, in the play of this world, the actions which seem to emanate from these aspects, that being which is not considering itself to be something separate, something limited, in the outward play, in the phenomenal play of such a being, because it is not coming from the ego, the sense of limitation. The action seems pristine, even when many times when we don't seem to understand why a sage is doing what he's doing or she is doing. When we look at it later, we realize what beautiful grace. So, although everything is the will of consciousness, the entire play of creation is grace, and yet it is undeniable that in the presence of a sage, their actions, their presence itself is much more beautiful grace. Not so those of the deluded seeker who affects a peaceful demeanor while remaining firmly attached. Many times we come across many in the spiritual journey who outwardly project a different impression, a different demeanor, and yet as we scratch the surface, all this starts to fall apart. It's still coming from that aspect of consciousness, considering itself to be a limited entity, therefore playing as a seeker. So all that comes from a sense of limitation seems to be not as pristine as that which is coming from this outward play of the sage. Because they're still attached to their identity, the seeker identity. Verse 53, unbounded, unfettered, untethered from the projections of mind, the wise are free to play and enjoy or retire to mountain caves. Unbounded, unfettered, untethered from the projections of the mind, the wise are free to play and enjoy or retire to mountain caves. So the first part we've spoken often enough. Simply the sage is repeating, the mind is complex, let it go. Then the wise are free to play and enjoy or retire to the mountains. That's why I say that it is said before enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water, after enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water. But we can add to that or not. Because even that can seem like it has become a condition. There is no must for anything. Anything can play after you come to the recognition of the truth. Whether it is going to the Himalayas and living in caves there, or continuing to live the life of a householder. Both can happen completely naturally for the sage. Nothing needs to be escaped, nothing needs to be renounced, except your belief in your next thought. Whether honoring a spiritual scholar, or God, or holy shrine, whether seeing a desirable woman, a king, or beloved friend, the heart of the sage is unmoved. So we've discussed this often enough. Neither desire nor aversion truly get a hold. All the appearances can come and go, but the idea me or mine is not picked up. Though his servants, sons, wives, daughters, grandchildren, all his relatives ridicule and despise him, the yogi is undismayed. So everyone around you, and all of us at some point have had these kind of experiences where we've been told, suddenly reminded of one time I was at work and there was someone I met and we happened to be speaking about someone and they didn't realize that I'm into this kind of this, the search for self-recognition, the quest for self-realization at that time. And he says to me very straight-faced, says, those who get caught in this spiritual bug, their life is finished. We've all heard like this. Those who catch this bug, their life is finished. So all of us have heard these kind of things when we are just want to be in this contemplation, want to be in the inquiry. Many times we hear this not just from the mind that is here, but also from others, seeming others around us. Saying, what's wrong with you? Why don't you live your life? Leave all this for old age. Then you can't do any of this. Finish off the important things. This kind of thing we've all heard. Servants, sons, wives, daughters, grandchildren, and all his relatives ridicule and despise him. The yogi is undismayed. Though pleased, he is not pleasured. Though pained, he does not suffer. This wonderful state is understood only by those like him. Like even this simple idea of there can be pain, but suffering becomes an alien concept. Many don't understand this in the beginning. Many also don't understand. They say, I really like this dessert. You see, uh, the pleasure of that can be there, but the potential for that to become feverish, so that if it is not there, for that to lead to some suffering, that goes away. So pain and pleasure can arise in their own natural way, but none of these become something which have the potential to cause feverishness or suffering. That is why the sage is fully enjoying even the content of the present moment, which is, which is all an aspect of his own, of her own presence, of own being. Nothing needs to be renounced in this world except the limited idea of who you are. This wonderful state is understood only by those like him. The belief in duty creates a relative world. The belief in duty creates a relative world for its performance. The wise one knows himself to be formless, timeless, all pervasive, immaculate, and thus transcends duty and world. The belief in duty creates a relative world for its performance. The wise one knows himself to be formless, timeless, all pervasive, immaculate, and thus transcends duty and the world. Unless there is duality, unless there is a sense of separation, we cannot pick up the idea of doership. As this duality is dissolving, and again the sages provided all these clues: formless, timeless, all pervasive, immaculate. Once you find yourself to be this one, then you will find that there is no one who is an individual doer of anything. Subject object relationship within this world starts to dissolve. Therefore, there is nobody now to do anything, nothing to be done. This is not the dropping of doership and picking up of the non doership. This is not the idea that I must not do anything because I am not the doer. It is the dropping of the concept itself. Everything is just happening, including everything moving from this body, from this mouth, from these hands. Neither doer nor non doer. What's the simpler way to put this? If I say you're not a scientist, do you pick up an identity around not being a scientist? Somebody mentions science, you say, no, I'm not scientist. But nobody said you were. You see? It's just like that. Many times when we hear you're not the doer, we pick up the non-doer identity. Well, why don't you put out the garbage? No, I'm not the doer. When the garbage has to be put out, it will be put out. Why don't you inquire? Why don't you follow the sage's pointing? I'm not the doer. When it has to happen, it will happen. See, this non-doer identity also gets held on to. Very, very common in Advaita. Empty of either of these positions. When the instruction is heard, find out who you are. And something might follow it, or something might not follow it. But you are not picking up the idea of either doing it or not doing it. You see, it's a subtle point. That's why I've been repeating it over and over. Even doing nothing, the dull one is anxious and distracted. Even amidst great action, the wise one remains still, even doing nothing. That aspect of consciousness which is pretending as if it is the limited one. The sage is calling him the dull one. Even doing nothing, the dull one is anxious and distracted. Even amidst great action, the wise one remains still. Even in practical life, the wise one remains happy. He didn't say that you have to drop practical life. He said even in practical life, there is a general undercurrent of contentment, of happiness, because it is this doership, an attachment to the outcome of doership, which causes all these struggles. So even in practical life, the wise one remains happy, happy to sit, happy to sleep, happy to move about, happy to speak, happy to eat, because he knows self. The wise one is not disrupted by practical life. He is deep and still, like a vast lake. He is not like ordinary people. His sorrows have vanished. You know where the sage is coming from, so don't feel that he is being derisive towards ordinary people or something. For the deluded one, even rest is an activity. See? For the wise, even action bears the fruit of stillness. This is exactly what we spoke about. For the deluded one, they are doing even the rest, or they have the sense of doership even when there is resting. For the wise, even when there is action, it bears the fruit of stillness. The deluded one the deluded one is often adverse to the things of his life. To one with no thought for body, attachment, and aversion have no meaning. So we can say the deluded one is often averse to the things of his life. To one with no thought for the body, attachment, and aversion have no meaning. So we'll go on because we've looked at this many times. The deluded mind is caught up in thinking and not thinking. The deluded mind is caught up in thinking and not thinking. Though the mind of the wise one may think what thoughts come, he is not aware of it. Okay, this needs some little bit of clarification. Not that he is not aware of it, basically he is not concerned by it.
Can you read that again?
The deluded mind is caught up in thinking and not thinking. Okay? We take the position, exactly what we are saying, that if we hear thinking is the problem, then we can take the position, I must not think. And we're trying to obstruct thought. So I say, just allow them to come and go. You cannot become the thinker unless you identify with the thought, unless you give belief to a thought. Then, though the mind of the wise one may think what thoughts come, which only means thoughts are allowed to come and go, this appearance of thoughts is continuing to happen. He is not aware of it. You see? So, not that he is not aware of it, you cannot claim that anything exists unless there is awareness of it. But he is not concerned by it, and also that these thoughts, which seem to be so big, so powerful, so noisy. How many of you, when you first came to Satsang, said to me, "Oh, Father, oh, Ananta, my mind is so loud, it's so big, it's so noisy." Is it? So it's not that the size of the mind has changed. The thought has remained a thought. It is our attention and our belief which seem to make them so formidable in the past. And now you're finding that it's just, what did we say earlier? We used to say, some of these examples I find a little naive now, but they're fun sometimes. So I used to say that which seemed to be this big wrestler able to throw you around, you know, this mind, then becomes like a nagging partner. It's like nagging partner, constantly do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Why are you like this? Can you change? Like that, nagging partner, but not the same power as this big wrestler beating you about. Then becomes like this mosquito. You see that one mosquito in the night when you're trying to sleep and it comes and buzzes every few minutes. You see? This mosquito. And then even the mosquito-ness of the mind starts to fade away. And mostly, whatever it might be saying, whatever ideas of desire or doership or duality it might be trying to sell to you, mostly it is allowed to come and go. So, this is how, as we divest our identity, as we divest our belief from the mind, we see that the mind itself seems to become much more of a powerless pet in a way. But don't be too quick to proclaim these things. I've had many who have been in satsang with me, and they've been quick to come to this idea that I'm over the mind now, the mind is now my friend. You see? I want to love it, I want to be nice to it, and very quickly, pat, gone. So don't be so quick. The trickster is also consciousness, but don't be so quick to pick up a friendly attitude towards it. There will come a time where you will look at it also as your beautiful child with no resentment towards it. That is all completely fine. But don't be so quick to get into that position or to proclaim that kind of mastery over the mind. Nitya says, Father, can I ask something about doership? Yes, my dear.
Hello.
Hello.
I actually don't know if it is really a question, but I felt to come up and say something to it because doership is still something which troubles me sometimes, and but normally during the day I would also not say that the experience here is that everything is just happening. This is just not, I don't feel that this is the experience here. Sometimes, yes, but it's not like that really. But it's, how to say that? It is, I would say I don't think about it, or, practical, yes, in a practical way, yes, but I don't think about the things I'm doing or which are, and I'm not sure, there's a doubt in it somehow, a subtle doubt, where the mind creeps in somehow and says, see, you're still the doer here, or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just really subtle because most of the day it's just, going without thinking on doership or what I'm doing. Yet I would say it's not the experience here that everything is just happening. I would not say it like this. It's something in the middle of it, I just have to say that. Just to
I like
bring.
this. So let's look at it. It's very beautiful report and question. Actually, when we hear that, then you see that everything is just happening. Why it doesn't seem to change? You say very beautifully that I'm not thinking about it. You see? And yet it seems very natural. It's not like, oh, now everything is just happening. Why? Because everything has always been just happening. So we don't expect a shift in our perception in some way. You see? And yet, when we notice, for example, if you were to notice just how the next words you say that come out, you will notice that it was just happening. You see, these words are just appearing. You see, and the perception of these words is also just happening. You see, just like your eyes are blinking, your heart is beating, all of this is just happening. Your head could be nodding. All of this is just happening. Why it doesn't feel like, oh, nothing really shifted? Because actually everything has been always just happening in this way. The key is what you said. I usually don't think about it. Now, what happens when we do think about it is when we invent the doer. You see, because when the thinking comes, what is it saying? You should not have done that. Or what should you do now? I don't know what to do. You see? And yet, what is to happen or not happen will continue to happen or not happen. You see? Let me uh, use a metaphor so maybe it gets easier understood. Now, suppose the tree had thoughts. There's a tree in the garden, and the tree had thoughts. And the thought was saying that you have to move your branches up and down. You see? The thought was saying you have to move your branches up and down, and every day it was giving the tree a report on how well it did in moving its branches. You see? Now, when we first hear that a sage comes next to the tree and is able to tell the tree in tree language, you are not doing it. It is the wind that comes and moves your branches. You see? So then some sense of relief can come. I am not moving these branches. It is the wind. This mind has been lying to me. The movement of the branches, the movement of everything has been a movement of consciousness. But this is still incomplete because what the sage will say next is that see that you are not the tree itself. You see the difference in position. So first I am the tree and I am moving my branches, to then I am the tree, but God or the wind or some higher force is moving my branches. And then to see, I am not the tree itself. Because if you get stuck in I am the tree and a higher force is moving my branches, then we can always have the sense of victimization as to why God has to move it this way or that way for me. And we can have a desire for something about the future. I hope tomorrow God moves the branches only in this way, in a particular direction. So that's why the sage, it is important for the sage to remind us that you are not the tree. Not only are you just not moving the branches, but you're also not the tree. So then you see that, yes, I am that, in which this entire play of tree, wind, ground, sage, everything. I am the third bird. It is witnessing both the doer and the perceiver. I am that primal witnessing. So then we come to this. Now, the thought is completely the opposite game. The thought is saying, yes, yes, of course you're moving your branches. See, now you decide to blink, only then you blink, like that, or something like that, it'll tell you. So, in that idea that you are moving your branches, it is telling you the story basically that you are the tree. So, that's why when you say, I don't see everything is just happening, but I'm not thinking about it, actually, then without thinking about it, all you see is that all of this is just a happening. It is only thought which makes an individual doer out of you. The sensations of movement can still be the same. You see, when you pick up something heavy, it might still seem like it's a sensation of some heavy object being felt in the body. So don't expect all of that to change. When we are typing, you see, like you have been doing, working so hard with the highlights and all of that, it might still find that the body gets fatigued. Happening does not mean that the phenomenal principles of this world will no longer happen. You see? So it can still feel like body gets strained, fatigue can come in the body. It is not a superpower that we are finding. We are finding that naturalness of this is just all of this is happening with the power of consciousness. Or as my favorite new term now, everything is happening with Guru power. Because God, Guru, and Self are the same. So we can say everything is moving with Guru power. There is no individual doer or mover of any of this. And when you're not thinking about it, that is what your experience is. As the next words flow, the next action happens, just notice that it is just moving on its own. The one that is claiming to be the doer, the mind, does not know how to do. I've been saying, isn't it? This one claims to be doing all of this, it doesn't know how to move a finger. If you ask the mind, so how do you move a finger? You say, I did just decide to move it. No, but how do you do it? After the thought comes, move the finger. What do you do next? It doesn't know. How does it activate the nervous system of the body, which makes this movement happen? All these are phenomenal mechanics. I don't usually get so much into that. But you'll realize that it's just like a small baby claiming that, oh, it is making the world go round. See? Why? Because I say round and it moves round. But it is moving on its own.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Anil says, yes, Father, I am all the birds. Niti Niti is just an illusion. You cannot cut yourself to say, I am not this. This is exactly what I said. That Niti Niti is not a pushing away of an aspect of yourself, keeping anything, pushing anything aside. It is just a simple seeing that all attention has gone into this phenomenal play. But can I just check for a moment or two whether anything else is there? We clarified this a few times. The sage sees nothing being done, even when performed by his hand. So beautiful, isn't it? It's answering the same question. The sage sees nothing being done, even when performed by his hands. Like a child, he is pure and acts without reason. Okay, this without reason should not be confused with acting in an unintelligent way or something. The supreme intelligence is guiding this life, all our lives. So it doesn't pick up ideas, I must do that, I have to do this. Some very simple, like I said, what's most important is no feverishness or suffering, no dependence on the outcome. In the play of the life of the sage, some planning can happen. Okay? Satsang next week will be, or Guruji can plan when is the next retreat, or pose as if he's planning the next retreat. Okay? So, in the life of the sage, movement, activity, even apparent planning can seem like it is there, but it is clear that I am not the tree. You see, that is the most important. I am not the individual doer. Even planning is witnessed. Blessed indeed is he who knows self, though seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, he never desires nor changes. So blessed is indeed he is he who knows self, though. Why though? Because all of these are phenomenal. Sights are phenomenal, sounds are phenomenal, taste is phenomenal, smell is phenomenal. All of these are phenomenal. Why say though? Just the same reason. This explains why niti niti. Because although all of this is there, how does one, that aspect of consciousness that is recognized its source, how does one come to that? Just through this simplicity of seeing what is beyond phenomenon. So niti niti means don't settle. If it is still phenomenal, don't settle for that. For a moment, find that which is beyond the play of phenomena. For one who is void and changeless, for one who is void and changeless, where is the world and its imaginings? Where is the end? Where is the possibility of it? For one who is void and changeless, where is the world and its imaginings? Where is the end? What is the possibility of it? So, this one that is beyond time and space, beyond all qualities, where is the world for you, for the self? Where is that appearance that we call the world? Where is the set of sensations that we call the body? What is your true position? Are you bound or enclosed in any of these? Where is birth and death? Where is beginning or end? Where is time? For the unchanging one, what does time mean? Glorious indeed is he who, free of desire, embodies bliss itself. He has become absorbed in self. In short, the great soul who has realized truth is free of desire, enjoyment, and liberation. In all of space and time, he is attached to nothing. We've covered all of this many times in the past. And anyone in the future who happens to come to this YouTube video or read this transcript, please start from the beginning. Ashtavakra is something that I feel I would give that advice. It can create some confusion if you haven't joined us from the beginning. So if you're watching this verse on YouTube 10 years later, or whenever you're watching this, please start from the very beginning. I'm sure Nitya has made it easy for you to find it. You can start from the beginning of this. It will become much more clear. Especially terms like enjoyer, don't enjoy, or free of desire. All these have been explained many times as we have gone along. What remains for one who is consciousness itself? What remains for one who is consciousness itself, who sees the non-existence of a phenomenal world created by a mere thought of a name? What remains for one who is consciousness itself, who sees the non-existence of a phenomenal world created by the mere thought of a name? So when this I am appears, then I am plays as I am something, I am Ananta. Then the play of this phenomenal world, Ananta and the rest of his world comes into play. In the absolute non-phenomenal awareness is the rising of being. And this being, as it arises, is empty of all conditions, names and forms. And when it picks up a name, picks up an identity, then the play of the world seems to become real, seems to become meaningful. Till then, it just remains a play. Peace is natural for one who knows for certain nothing exists, who sees appearances are illusion, to whom the inexpressible is apparent. Peace is natural for one who knows for certain nothing exists, who sees appearances are illusion, to whom the inexpressible is apparent. Now, again, that's why I said to join from the beginning is good, because how is reality defined by the sage? Reality is defined as that which is direct experience and also that which is unchanging. So, in relation to that, everything that is changing is illusion. Only in relation to the truth, Is the appearance of the world an illusion? If we consider ourselves to be an object within this appearance, then it's better that we don't say the world is an illusion. Only from the perspective of the truth can we speak these words. Only from the perspective of this truth can you say something like, nothing really exists. Nothing has ever really happened. At which point can we go this far that we come into even saying that even existence is ultimately not the truth. Maharaj said very beautifully, and these words are so pristine. He said the only truth that we can speak, even in satsang, is that I am. And ultimately, even that is not true. So at some level, at some point, when we consider ourselves to be limited and separate, I am is a beautiful pointer. It is a beautiful pointing to the truth. But there comes an opening which is even beyond this, where we see that which is aware of I am, to that, even the I am is a coming and going, and therefore does not meet the criteria for reality, which is that it must be unchanging. Even this I am, the deity of the waking state, this consciousness itself, the light of which runs this magnificent creation, ultimately is a coming and going. That is when, like Guruji, you can say, before I am. Or as Maharaj got closer to the end of his life, he started becoming very strong with these kind of pointing where he said, all of this trouble is because of the I am infection. I am infection, that which is in this worldly play the holiest, the divine presence itself. That all of this, leave the I am. Who can say, forget about consciousness? These words will sound completely strange because even forgetting or remembering is a play of consciousness. But there comes a point where you can even say, I am unconcerned even with being. There's no rush. You don't have to become an Advaita superstar or something like this. There is no rush for any of this. Even if you say any of this, you'll find many who try to become Advaita superstar. Nobody listens to them. Don't don't rush into any of that proclamation. Don't rush to say I've gone beyond Maharaj or something like that. Just have some reverence towards these beautiful, pristine pointings. And then you will see that it will all unfold. And your presence will convey this. Your presence will convey that you are beyond presence. You don't have to speak about it. You have to notice these things about us. Many times the mind can get a hold of these kind of words. I am beyond, before I am. I am is just an infection for me. You see, sometimes the spiritual ego can take a hold onto these words. And you notice that if you smell within yourself, you will know very well how it has been taken. Whether it has been taken as specialness, whether it is being used as wanting to be seen as something special, wanting to get some applause in some way, wanting some recognition. some affirmation. So if these things are arising in you, don't go into a denial of them. Follow the smell. Find the eye that it leads to and see if there's anything real about that one. Or is it the make-believe eye, the blue cat, which is pretending to be special by coming to the understanding of this? Or are these words truly and happening within your own presence? Don't rush. Know that if it is a rush to proclaim something, it is from the mind. Unassociated being is not in a rush. Time is nothing for it. Peace is natural for one who knows for certain nothing exists. So don't be in a rush to say this, or see it for yourself. Be open to this insight for yourself. Then your presence will convey this seeing. Who sees appearances are illusion, to whom the inexpressible is apparent. To whom the inexpressible is apparent. What is the inexpressible? The same unseen, non-phenomenal self. What can we say about the self? Truly nothing about the self itself. We can just play as if we are pointing to it, but we can't even point to it really. We can just divest as consciousness. We are divesting our attention from other phenomenal things and letting it go. As it is divested from phenomena, the insight into the non-phenomenal, your intuitive insight, becomes clearer and clearer. Why do I say we cannot even point to it? Because to point to it would mean that the self is in a particular direction. It's not phenomenal in that way. Before you can take a step means this, that not even a pointing is needed, but the false has to be divested from. Belief in the false must go. This openness is here. Rules of conduct, detachment, renunciation, asceticism. What are these to one who sees the unreality of things, who is the light of awareness? So this play of doership, what to do, how to behave, what to renounce, whether to live as a householder, or to live in a cave, whether to rush to uh, live in a holy place, or whether you can stay at home. All of this falls away when you come to the recognition of what you are. The seeker has many varieties. You can be a householder seeker, you can be a sadhu seeker. It doesn't really matter. If what is to be found is already there, then the outer expression doesn't matter. Then you see the self is the self, irrespective of cave or not. You are the self. Irrespective of work or not, you are the self. Irrespective of money or not, you are the self. irrespective of relationship or not. You are the self. Many times, wanting to renounce the world is also a postponing tactic. Oh, I will be free only when this and this and this happens. Nothing needs to happen. Just this moment of insight. What is it that I am truly? How can there be joy or sorrow, bondage or liberation for one who perceives non existence and lights the infinite? How can there be joy or sorrow, bondage or liberation for one who perceives non existence and lights the infinite? What a beautiful verse. That which perceives non existence. When do you perceive non existence? It's you, by the way. It's you, by the way. When do you perceive non existence? Every day. That is why you say there is something called sleep. I went to sleep. So you are there. And then, as Papaji used to ask, what wakes up? What wakes up? Existence wakes up. And with existence, the world wakes up. What is that which witnesses existence and non existence? This nothing, this absolute, this awareness, this supreme intelligence, which is the light, but without the quality of light, which provides the light for the light of the universe, but itself is empty of any quality. Again, don't try to understand these words. Stay with your insight about them. Beautiful passage from Talks with Bhagwan that somebody had posted on Facebook the other day. It was, Bhagwan said, with which light do you see this object? Somebody says, I see this object with the light of the sun. With what light do you see the light of the sun? Somebody said, I see it through the light of my sight, through the light of my eyes. With which light do you see the light of your sight? See, all this we've covered today also. With which light do you see the light of sight? Now, in this story, the definition of mind was the broader one. So they said, so the light of the mind. With which light do you see this light of the mind? With the light of my being, with the light of my presence. With what light do you see the light of your being? What is aware of your presence? And do you see that all definitions of light fall away after that? Can you truly ask, with what light do we see the light of that which lights our presence? We cannot. The mind will say, oh, this is possible to have an infinite regress. But if you're following along with your insight, you will see that in this absolute, in the self, it stops. There is no regress. Because empty of phenomena, there is nothing further to go back into. But what light do you witness? The light of your presence. Does this light have any quality? Is it bright or dim? Is it dark? For one who perceives non-existence and lights the infinite. Oh, superstar verse. How can there be joy or sorrow, bondage or liberation, for one who perceives non-existence and lights the infinite? So let's stop at this one. That is why our sages through the centuries have said all of this waking state, sleep state, dream state, transcendental Turiya state, all of these states are just comings and goings for you, the eternal witnessing of them. Now, if you are beyond the waking state, if you are beyond the waking state, can you find yourself in an object within the waking state? See, all these are very important clues. The theme of Satsang today has been this. If you are that which witnesses the coming and going of the entire waking universe, and it dissolves to be left, nothing to be left. And then another universe appears, another dream universe, and millions of these universes can appear and disappear. If you are the constant witnessing, can you find yourself inside one of these realms? If you were, then when that goes, then you would go. But you don't. This waking state will go to be replaced by sleep. You are still there. Sleep state gets superimposed with the next, that which we call dream now, but when it appears, it seems just like this waking state. Another family, another set of people, another life, it seems as real, can appear. Then that also comes and goes. So much infinite experiences can be had in all of these states. Is your truth to be found inside one of them? It cannot be. It must only be that these at best are aspects of you, but you are not an aspect of them because they are the coming and going. You are the unchanging witness. How can there be joy or sorrow, bondage or liberation, for one who perceives non-existence and lights the infinite? Okay, I'm just going to read one of Anil's messages. He says, "No true position, Father. Mirror I look in, I am that. In mirror of awareness, I am the absolute. In mirror of consciousness, I am. In mirror of pretense, I am ego." So it is satsang is for this mirror of pretense. Awareness is always awareness. Consciousness is always consciousness. Nothing happens in reality to that which is truth. If something really happened to the truth, then the whole premise of finding the truth would be pointless. So, what is satsang for? In life, there are two games which are being played. One is the game of consciousness picking up more and more identity, more and more pretense, and one is the game of consciousness dropping identity and pretense. So, satsang is the second game, which is meant to drop identity and pretense. It's still a game, of course. Nothing in reality is changing because it's another appearance in the waking state. But the rules of this game is that if you come into this game, if you want to be a part of this game, then it must be a dropping of the pretense. Knowing completely truly that nothing matters in reality. But if you come into this game and keep saying, but can I keep my pretense because it is just a pretense after all, then why are you in this game? You see, you come into the football field and want to play basketball, and obviously you will say, what is the game you're playing? The game of satsang is where we come and we empty ourselves from all pretenses. Then we can truly say that the egoic play is just a pretense. I know it sounds round and round. You might have the idea and then some insight into the pretense of the egoic play. But till you drop the pretense of the egoic play, you cannot truly say it is just a pretense. Just like until you climb the top of the mountain, you cannot truly say there is no mountain. There is no mountain. But you cannot say it until you have climbed. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Ji ki Jai.
सतगुरु श्री अनंता जी की जय।
Looks like Satsang was really bad today because A lot of my children are grumpy, not smiling at me at all. Do you have a grumpy children in satsang tomorrow? What is grumpy? Oh, tomorrow is holiday. Nitya saying, please, Father, not now. Don't start weekends at least. I'm just starting to recover. Already it is enough, actually.